today. We got the wood off. We got some foam put up. Started strapping the front and foaming over the beams. Started putting roof vents in. I'm working on the escape hatch right now. You can see those holes. Those are my locates for the beam. And then we'll go up here. This is our escape hatch for the bed. And then I've got it drawn out where I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to cut it with one of these tools, multi-tools. These work really well on aluminum. Hole. Okay, the roof hatch is in. So I put the butyl tape in between the frame and the aluminum, and then I pop riveted the hatch in, and then this is a die-core self-leveling sealant. This stuff works really well. It's still leveling at the moment, so it'll look much smoother and prettier once it's leveled. It'll look more like that one. Let's see it zoom in there. See how it's nice and level, all the bolts are covered. That'll keep it from leaking indefinitely for years and years and years to come. But if we look on the inside here, you can see the butyl tape kind of in the seam there. And then I put the die core over top of all the rivets, so the rivets are waterproof for sure. And that's my roof hatch. This thing stands up 90 degrees. I just don't want to move it because it's still, the lap sealant's still leveling and drying back there. But it stands up 90 degrees, so you can escape out this hatch because my bed's going to be here. I'm going to have a drop bed, and this will also be roof access for my solar panels, and if I want to put a canoe or something up there. But yeah, that's how you put a roof vent in. You cut a big hole and you use all the proper sealants and you should be good. A lot of people are probably wondering, rivets instead of screws. This stuff is so thin that screws don't stick to it. Like, they just strip out. A lot of people will put wood and screw to the wood from the outside. I went with rivets. These are aluminum rivets, so if I ever do have to take this out or replace it, a drill bit just knocks these out like nothing. You just hit them from the top side, knock the head off, and they come right out, and then these just pop out and they leave nice clean holes, and you can put new rivets in again. So that's why I did that, because screws suck. Rivets are permanent and they stay tight. They don't back off. I did the same thing with the fan at the front. It's pop riveted in with aluminum rivets. I was going to use stainless rivets, but you can't drill stainless rivets out very easily. You'll end up wrecking your roof or your window. So I went with aluminum rivets. They're nice and soft to get them back out later. So that's why I did that. Alright, so next up is a little roof vent. This doesn't have a screen, so we're not going to want to leave it open. It's more of an escape hatch and just kind of like a skylight. So that'll be ventilation, front and rear. Probably leave this one on all the time. And right now what I'm working on is exterior lights. So these little guys, they're pretty bright. I'm going to put 2 on this side with the awning, and then one in the front corner where my power comes in, and then maybe one on the back. I haven't decided yet, but definitely putting one here above the door. I've already got it marked out. It's going to sit there. I just got to put some riv nuts in here. I guess I could bolt it through, but riv nut makes it easier. And then I'll put a gasket on it, and I'll probably caulk it all the way around, make sure it doesn't leak. That's what I'm doing right now. Don't do that. These are riv nuts. I'm sure you've seen them before. They just rivet into the hole, gives you something to thread into. That's what my light's gonna bolt in with. I've pre-drilled these holes to 3/8, which is the size you need for the M6 riv nut. So these came with a two-sided tape kind of gasket, so I'm going to use them kind of as a cushion and to kind of hold it in place, and then I'll silicone around it after they're installed. So that's our riv nuts and our hole, and I'll install that. Just hang on a sec. There, I've stuck it on, so now we'll thread the bolts in. There we go. And there you go. There. Oh, that's not that real good. One patio light installed to get inside here. Oof. Those are the riv nuts that those bolts thread into, and then our grommet for our wire, and then I just got a mosquito. I'm gonna run a hole up under here into this channel, because this channel is where, hang on, let me get rid of this. This channel has all of the wiring for the tail lights and stuff, so I'm gonna utilize that channel for all my wiring for my interior lights, exterior lights, all the accessories I put on it. So that's handy. So we'll do one here. I'm gonna do one back 3/4 of the trailer. Alright, we got our outside lights mounted. That one's above the door. This one's at the back. See them there. We added some loading lights. I might hook them up for reverse lights, we'll see. On this side we got 2 more. And then I put one around the front here, because I'm going to have my power inlet and my diesel tank for my diesel heater out front here. So I'll be able to fill that in case I have to come out and fill my diesel heater at night. I've got some light to fill my diesel tank, and to diagnose any wiring problems, or if I want to plug my generator in at night. So next up is the plug through the wall here for the generator. So I got one of the lights turned on, and it is pitch black outside, and it throws a ton of light. You can see beside the trailer how dark it is. Those are amazing little lights. That's going to be nice with 2 on the sides. Lights up nice where I'm going to put my diesel tank and my plug. Sweet. Alright guys, so I forgot to film cutting in the windows. But that's where my windows are going. Window. As you can see by my mess here. That's what I did was I marked them out, and then I cut the corners with a hole saw to get a nice round edge. I'll show you inside here. And I used this thing, a multi-tool. Now these work way better on aluminum if you put a little bit of, I use Worth Cut and Cool. It just lubricates the blade, doesn't gall up. And then it cuts a nice hole. Nice straight lines. I just set the foam up in there, marked it, and then cut the foam out where the window sits. But now, I just brought my furring strips in. I have to strap the walls and then put my second layer of pink insulation and then put my finish wall on before I can mount the window, because they use, these are the windows here, this trim ring screws into this lip, so you've got to put your sealant and everything on, put it in the window hole, and then line this up over your finished wall and everything and screw it together to sandwich it. And then after that, you caulk around the outside of the window. So that's next. Furring strips and insulation. It's getting dark here, so I'll probably plug my light in a minute. Maybe I'll throw on the time lapse for that. Alright, it's next day. I got the one wall all strapped in. The windows are cut. I just stuck the foam back in for the night because it was raining. What I did here, these are my exterior lights that I put on the other day. Those are the guys. So I just trimmed the strapping and drill the hole and put a grommet in up into this is the trough where all the tail light wiring and everything is. I'm going to run all my wiring in here on both sides for all my lights and stuff. Interior, exterior, everything. All the wiring's going to be up here. So I put a little grommet in there, ran the wire up in, so now it's in the trough. Now I'm going to put my pink foam, and then the wood wall can go over top of it all, so you won't see any of the wiring poking through the walls. I'll do something similar with the ceiling. Let's do this one up here. So, 1/2-inch insulation's next. Okay, I'll just show you what I've done so far. Don't mind the rain, it's getting in my way. But I got a bunch of sheets cut out the right height. And I've got this one. I've got the window frame, which is the inside frame, set in the hole. And then I put both sheets over top of the hole, and this foam's just sitting there. So I went around to the outside, popped the foam out, and then marked all along the edge on the wood for my window hole. So now I just got to cut it like a 1/16 of an inch bigger, if that, than what my pencil line is. Back up here so you can see what I'm doing. So yeah, I just got to cut around the outside of my pencil line by about a 1/16 of an inch, and then that frame should fit inside of it. I got the two sheets, so it's kind of split down the middle here. And then I've got to mark this one. So I'm going to cut this half out, maybe put 1 or 2 screws in this board, take the frame and put it in this hole, do the same thing, put that sheet back, mark it, and then I have the other half of this window and then the full window marked in this sheet. I'll cut that out, and then I can mount that board, and then I can put the windows in. Alright, so I stuck the foam back in that one. So I've got my window trim on the inside and the wood up against the wall. And as you can see, I just traced around the outside of it, all the way around. Then I just got to cut it a 1/16 of an inch over, and we should have a window hole in the interior wood. And then that trim just goes on the outside of it, and it squeezes the window together. And as you can see, I've got that panel up with that half moon cut, and I've just got it clamped tight because that trim piece is behind the second window. So now I'm going to take this board down cut the other half moon out, which is already marked, and then the other full window, and then we'll put that board back up and screw it to the wall, and then the rest is just straight cut boards. And yeah, once my windows are in, I'm going to focus on them first. I want the windows in because of the rain. So once the windows are in, I'm just going to finish out this wall. Well, I got the windows in. That was a chore. But, that's how they mount. Inner trim screws to it, sandwiches it together. These have screens that open, and the window, they lock like that. These particular windows can be mounted vertically or horizontally. Just make sure you check that when you buy your windows. But that's the windows in. I'm happy. If we run around the other side here, don't mind the mess on the yard. I gotta clean that up. There it is. Back up a bit here. Windows, yay! And I put butyl tape around the outside of the window, and then it just kind of pushes out when you tighten it. So technically this window is sealed, but I'm going to caulk around it as well. Did it on both windows. The butyl tape works really well for an instant seal, being it's raining out. The caulking I did on the roof is still wet, so I'm going to need a few days of sun for that to even cure. So when we get a nice sunny day, I'll caulk the windows. But yeah, it's getting there. As you can see behind me, the wall is all strapped, except for that side, because I ran out of rivets. So we need to order more rivets to finish that, and the ceiling. But this wall's strapped. I can cut some foam and start putting some wood up, and that's a good start to this weekend. Okay, I started putting foam up, and I noticed I missed a couple rivets. So what happened was I went to put the foam in. Womp womp. So this is all I have left. I don't want to use them because they stick out. I'll flip the camera around here and I'll show. These ones are flush. They've got a tapered head and they sink in flush so they don't interfere with the plywood. These do not. So what I'm gonna do, being it's only 2 rivets, I'm gonna countersink the hole a little bit, sink these babies in. Then I can at least finish my foam and put some plywood up on this wall, at least up to the door, until I get more rivets to finish the front and the ceiling. But yeah, so that was my whoopsie for today. I'm gonna fix that right now. Up to the door strapped and foamed. Can't really go any further till I get some more rivets, but what I can do is I can put the plywood up like this side here, finish that corner, put this plywood up to the door, maybe cut the wood out around the door, get that all pre-done, so when the rivets come in and I get this all strapped, I can just slap it up. And once I do that, I'm gonna spray foam in all these cracks around the door to get rid of some of the heat and cold seepage. Okay, so we're about to put some wood on the wall. Little tech tip, as you can see from this side. You don't really know where the strapping is when you're putting the boards up. So what I've done is, you can see here, I put marks. That's where all the aluminum rails in the wall are. And we don't necessarily want to put a screw right where the aluminum rails are in case we go through and it hits. It might keep the head of the screw out a little bit, and we want them to sink flush into the wall. So we want to avoid the aluminum rail in behind the strapping, but we want to hit the strapping. We also don't want to hit the rivets. So what I've done there on the floor, I don't know if you can see it very well, but we got little Sharpie marks all along on the bottom where the rail is as well. So we're just going to avoid the center of the rail. That way we won't hit the rivets, we won't hit the rails, and we will avoid poking unnecessary holes into our pretty plywood. The other thing I did is I marked on the back rail where all the straps are. So when I put this piece of plywood up, I'll be able to see the strap on this side and the mark on the back wall. So that'll give me I can run a ruler across, and that'll give me a location for my straps, for my screws, and then the marks on top and bottom will stop me from hitting the rails and the rivets, and it should go together nicely. And being everything will be all tied together and sandwiched, it'll really stiffen up the wall. Like, as you can see, like, can't really tell, but I'm pushing the wall. Like, it flexes and moves. It's pretty flimsy without being fully put together, but this side, it doesn't, like, it squeaks, but it doesn't flex like this side does. Because now that we've, with the straps, we've tied all the ribs together, and now we're just gonna tie it all together solid with the plywood. So it really rigids up the trailer quite a bit. Also, why I went with the rivets, because as the trailer flexes, if you use a speedy screw, they don't hold very well. They don't have very much like clamping force, and it's really thin rail. And what will happen is they'll get loose or they'll pop out, and I don't want that. I don't want my walls to look bowed. I don't want everything to fall apart. So these stainless steel construction rivets have a huge holding power. Like, you will rip the aluminum rail out before you rip the rivet out. And the plywood strapping is very strong, even compared to that aluminum rail. Like, you won't rip the rivet through the wood, you'll probably rip the aluminum. So that's why we went that route, to keep the strapping strapped to the wall. It's not an easy route to do. Like, you need a beast of a rivet gun to do 1/4 inch stainless rivets. Like, I got this thing. If you've watched my other YouTube videos, you know I have that. But yeah, you're not popping these with a hand riveter unless you've got a great big wing style one. And frankly, it's a lot of work. You don't necessarily want to have to do that. The electric ones are the way to go. They're big money. But so far in this job, I've easily banged $300 worth of rivets into it. So when you're talking that kind of money for hardware, and I'm building 2 of these, well, I'm building this trailer and my van body, it's definitely worth it. And we use it at work, so yay. Also, with the rivets, stainless. Is it unnecessary? Probably. Aluminum rivets generally aren't nearly as strong as steel or stainless. That being said, we're only riveting it to aluminum. Could you get away with aluminum rivets? Probably. I wanted, being these are a tapered head, I wanted something that took more squeeze, basically, to pull these. That's flush. We don't want them to stick out. The aluminum ones might not have enough pull to push them in, meaning you might have to countersink all your holes. I didn't countersink these. Those rivets pull so hard that they just pull themselves into the wood. So that's another theory with the stainless. Also, you don't want to use steel, because steel and aluminum react together and they can corrode. So if you do get moisture and whatnot in the beams or near the rivets, they can corrode. You don't want them to corrode. Stainless and aluminum doesn't react together quite as bad as steel and aluminum. Aluminum and aluminum's fine, but the aluminum rivet isn't nearly as strong. Therefore, we went with stainless. It's a very expensive option, but I don't ever have to worry about any work I've done to this thing failing. Like, if anything fails, it'll be the manufacturing of the trailer. Everything I put in here is going to be a-okay. It'll outlast the trailer. Stiffens up the wall. That gives us 1.5 inch insulation. The wood strapping gives us a little bit of thermal bridging, or reduction in thermal bridging, sorry, because the aluminum will carry heat all the way through the rail. It's also why we strapped it opposite directions and put the foam over top of the rail, because thermal bridging is bad. That lets your heat out, or heat in, lets your cold out, lets cold in, vice versa. We want the inside temperature to stay the inside temperature and not have to fight the outside temperature.